just kind of reiterate a little bit about some of the stuff that the state is looking at doing at this point? It's obviously a lot of possible water issues. Just tell me a little bit about what the state's looking at this point.
First of all, we always work with the local emergency managers, and you've had a very good team of people working here locally. We recognize that they're the ones that really do most of the response work. So back in November, we started asking questions of the emergency managers on a county-by-county basis, asking them to tell us what they thought their needs were going to be, what areas were going to be most at risk. Based upon that, we're kind of analyzing and bringing together the totals from across the state. In terms of the number of sandbags that they have at the local level, the number that they're going to have from the state, should we have a flood occur, their resources for filling sandbags, their resources that are available for building dikes, what additional equipment they may need from DOT, or for that matter, bringing in people from the Department of Corrections. The National Guard will be made available in terms of their heavy equipment, also their helicopters for search and rescue. And so we think we've got a pretty good handle on the number of generators that we've got across the state, the number of pumps that we have across the state. Now it's a matter of pre-positioning those in areas based upon where the need will be first.
So is that going, if though, say the need is greater in one area than another, obviously it's going to get that need first. How long is it going to take to activate those though?
Well, we have a 24-hour system set up, and once the Emergency Operations Center is set up and the request is made, it's handled immediately. But it still takes time to drive it from one location to another, and one of the reasons why you pre-position those assets is so that it's closer to where the need is at. So if we think there's a possibility in Aberdeen that they're going to need additional generators, or if they're going to need additional pumps in particular areas, we'll try to get those in and get them closer, or even in the community itself before they actually need them. They'll sit there, and then if another community needs them before Aberdeen does, we can move them. We try to analyze and see which places are going to need them first.
Okay, so what advice do you give to area residents then? Just keep preparing?
Well, number one, on an individual basis, look at your business and look at your home. If you've got things in a basement, let's move stuff out of the basements, because a lot of the personal property that's damaged in basements, if they could get it up above it, would save a lot of heartache and cleanup messes afterwards. The second part of it is if you haven't checked your sump pumps, check your sump pumps. Make sure they're operating. There's nothing wrong with actually having an extra or a spare sump pump there. In some cases where if they're concerned about power outage and so forth, a generator, having a portable generator that can continue to run a sump pump is very, very helpful. And in a lot of our rural areas, they just expect that.
And I mean, the other side where the state comes in is a bit later on, once the threshold's met, moving that paperwork along,
right.
I imagine.
What we're looking at right now is statewide for a flood event, it would be $1 million minimum before FEMA would step in. But they would step in advance and help us do the preliminary damage assessment to see if we qualify for the $1 million threshold. Each county also has a separate threshold based on the number of individuals in the county. And I'm not sure what that is for Brown County, but that's the way that it works. Each county has to qualify, and then the state as a whole has to qualify when you have a flood event. At that point, then FEMA will step in, and they'll pick up about 75% of the covered charges, and the state will participate with the local units of government picking up the remaining 25%.
And that is where township officials, city officials work with Scott, in our case, your local emergency management guy, to get those, to document that, get those numbers right?
Yep, and a lot of it's, the devil is in the detail, getting the data in, keeping track of the records, keeping track of the receipts, the hours worked, and so forth. Very important for local officials to have a good record-keeping system in place so they can actually document what their loss is.
Right. I think I'm good.
Good.
All right.